So one of the questions that we often get asked, and quite frankly stumps us, is why is it that you can articulate the difference between a Burgundy and a Bordeaux in wine, or a cheddar and a brie in cheese, or an IPA and a lager when it comes to beer? Why can't we do that for chocolate? And it's a really great question. And I think one reason for it is that just chocolate is very, very, very complicated. It's complicated in the sense that there are loads of things which impact flavor. Plus, unlike, for example, apples, where two apples off the same tree will basically taste the same, you're not having the fruit when you have cacao, you're actually having the seeds, so they can be very different. And then you've got all those great complexities which makers and growers can throw into it, like fermentation, drying, but also how you roast, what percentage you use, even what mold you use. So we've got all these complexities which are in there too. But I think actually there's something else which really explains why we don't have this typicity or this specificity, why we don't have the ability to do what you can do with wine and say, well, a Shiraz from Northern Rhone is going to be very, very different from a Shiraz from Australia. And I think the reason for that is actually that we don't have the same history and traditions. So we haven't been having hundreds of years in the case of France to be able to tell you what the difference between Bordeaux and Burgundy is. Or for example, in the UK, telling you the difference between a cheddar and a Wensleydale or a Stilton. So I think it's partly down to the history. I think it's also, there's another thing, which is that the chocolate maker is generally quite separate from where the beans are grown. And this gives rise to all sorts of different opportunities to bring out those nuances and not have what you'd sort of have in wine like DOCs or what you've got like in pork pies with Melton Mowbray. So what I think we're going to try and do here to help you is we've basically pulled together some great examples from 3 different bean types so you can start to get the language which you will enjoy and appreciate. We've got Bertil Akkerson's beans from Madagascar, and then we've got the beans from Nicaragua, which Mikel Fritz Holm has now spread all over the world. But you should also basically compare Mikel's interpretations with, for example, the interpretations you get from Choco Card. And then finally, Coco Camille, Simran and Brian's amazing beans, which are crafted from everybody all over the world and just bring out all those different flavors. The key thing here though is one vital message for you is don't be bamboozled by false marketing by the supermarket. If you want to have great craft chocolate, look for the name of the farm and where it's been made. Don't be satisfied just with Peru or West Africa. Literally get down to Chincho or Cusco in Peru and look for beans and makers by people like Quantu, who will actually tell you how they've crafted it, or from Debar, or from Pump Street, or from Chocolada, but look at where the beans come from and where it's been crafted.